Show me the money. That's right. Who makes all the money in America and in what age group? We're going to go over that here in a bit. But first, let's get going with the housing market update for this last week in August. We are heading into Labor Day weekend, and I tell you what, we are moving in the right direction. What we got? Prices. Home prices are going up. Inventory stable, not really going up. We're past the inventory growth part of the year. We're going to start going down. It's just the end of the year. And people have already moved, and school's already starting. That's one of those great things about Labor Day. I remember celebrating as a kid, Labor Day weekend, last big hurrah, barbecues, horseshoe tournaments, camping, and then you go to school the next week. Rates are down, and that is a good change from the previous week when we saw rates up. Let's look at the headline news for the week. Home sales report showing a slowing market. We had a couple of housing reports come out this week. Home price appreciation, while increasing, the rate of increases is coming down and has been coming down really for the last several months. Inflation was up, but actually was in line with expectations. Show me the money. I'm going to talk to you about money and average median income for Americans by age group. It really tells a lot, especially tells a lot in Hawaii. And VA rates are down, which is good news. I like to end on good news. So here we go. All right, the new home sales report really was kind of a stinker. We had 652,000 signed contracts, which was down from the previous month. And the previous month actually was revised from 627,000 up to 656. So you saw a 4,000 decrease. About 0.6% month-to-month decrease. Year over year, we are down 8.2%. So that's a pretty big number there. Prices are down too. Not a lot, but still, prices are down 0.8%. To 404,000, and months of supply is 9.2. But let's look at that. When you look at the number of new homes on the market, or new homes for sale, you can see, by stage of construction, not started. All right, 111,000. Under construction, 267. Only 121,000 actually were completed last month. So not a really great report. And again, that kind of follows the home builder report we received last week. All right, Case-Shiller Home Price Index. This is the gold standard for home price appreciation across the country. And seasonally adjusted shows a 0.3% decrease. And this, folks, is the fourth month in a row with a month-over-month contraction in home prices, but still up 1.9% year over year for the national average. The 20-city index, which takes 20 of the largest metropolitan areas, showed a 2.1% increase. So really, we're kind of even the 20-city index, which has been much higher than the national index, is starting to come in line. And you know what, though? I tell you what, if we see rates continue to come down, you can expect to see an increase in that appreciation rate. We may see something positive coming towards the end of the year if we see rates drop in the next month. Pending home sales, we had this. I don't like this report, but it is a good story of what to expect next month with the existing home sales. Pending home sales down 0.4% month over month, and then year over year just up 0.7%. Current pace of sales actually went up, was below 4 million last month. Now we're just above 4 million, 4.01, but it's still well below the 5 to 5.5 million that the index is measured by. The pending home sales index is measured by. So not a great report. Again, just shows a slowing market. What will take care of that? Lower rates. All right, sound like a broken record here, I know. All right, PCE, this is Friday. This is a big report we've been waiting for all week, and guess what? It came in exactly as expected. The core went up from 2.8 to 2.9%. That is the third month in a row that we have seen an increase in the core reading. Still below 3%, but up. And the headline rose. Actually, the headline kind of stayed right where it was at 2.6%, which is what was expected. And quite frankly, next month we'll probably see up 3%, because the expectation is that inflation is going to stay right around the 3% range really for much of the rest of the year. Tariffs are having some impact, but there are other things. Shelter is the biggest impact, really. And shelter has been actually in a pretty good spot. But we also see the annualized core run rates, and right now everything is trending to 3%. They were pretty low. They were in the mid twos, but they actually were up. They have been up, and you can see 2.9% for 3 months, 3% for 6, and 2.9 for 12 months. So this is kind of the range that we're starting to settle in. Is that a bad thing? No. At least we have some stability in inflation, and at some point it will start to go down, but probably not until January. All right, so let's take a look at money. Let's take a look at show me the money. All right, who makes the most money in America? Well, guess what? It is in the range of 45 to 54 years old that you are going to peak out. And this is not for everybody, but this is on average. You're going to peak out on your salary, $70,000. And what does that mean? Well, one of that means I'm not in that range anymore. I'm in that next bracket, which isn't much worse, but still, I'm going to try and buck that trend. In any case, what does this mean in Hawaii? You know, in Hawaii, we got a median sales price over $1 million, and even peak earning households are stretched thin. That's why it's certainly in the Ewa Plain. Many of the homeowners down here where the median sales price is right around $1 million, you got both family members, both spouses are working to make that mortgage payment. But this is also that same age group that will typically tap into the equity for a first home or leverage dual incomes to find that move up property or that forever home. Because without having a dual income or without having some money from the sale of their first home, it's very hard to make a mortgage payment when your salary is $70,000 a year. A mortgage payment of $1 million, that is. 25 to 34 year olds earn about $59,000 a year. And so what does that mean? Well, hey, these are your prime first-time home buyers. Most of my first-time home buyers are in this age bracket, but they often cannot buy that single-family home, and that's okay. Your first home is not your forever home. First-time home buyers are looking at a condo or a townhome, and this is exactly why programs like the VA Home Loan Benefit, where you don't have to have a down payment, or a 1% down conventional loan, that's why these loan products are so popular in Oahu, is because you don't have to have as much money out of pocket. Hey, and you are not buying your forever home, you are buying your first home. This is a home that gets you that forever home later. And you look at that 55 plus earner that's getting making just under between $62,000, $67,000. We're still working, folks. But in Hawaii, this is a group that is typically looking to downsize or maybe sell while they're still active, often trading that single family home for a condo near the beach or cashing out equity to relocate, maybe start traveling. These are the people we need to sell, quite frankly, because that keeps that existing inventory moving in the market. So the overall U.S. median salary is $62,000, right around there. What does this mean for homeowners in Hawaii or people who live in Hawaii? Well, with the median home price 15 times that, and it's tough. It's tough to buy a home without creative financing, without family co-signers, without shared household income. And this explains why Hawaii's affordability index is among the lowest in the nation. And let's get into that first group, the 20 to 24 year olds. All right, we're not talking about them teenagers, all right? They're still living with mom and pop. But hey, as a 20 to 24 year old, you're making about $40,000 a year. You're just starting out. I remember when I was young and I thought, man, I'm never gonna be able to buy a home. But you know what? I'm just starting out. I didn't realize that my peak earning years were going to be in my 40s and my 50s. But in any case, rent eats up most of your paycheck, really, no matter what your age is, but certainly as a 20 to 24 year old. And unless you live at home or pool resources, buying probably feels impossible. But those who start early with house hacking, all right, that means like renting out rooms, or use their VA benefits, can get in while their peers are still living with mom and dad. And let me tell you what, next week I'm coming out with a house hacking book. If you want a copy of this book or this booklet, it's a virtual booklet, let me know. I want to get this out to you because there are ways. Don't get stuck living with your parents, folks. Buy a home, house hack. I know a lot of people, as soon as they buy their home, it's even using their VA benefit, they start house hacking, renting out a room to a buddy, which cuts their mortgage payment down by a third, sometimes even a half. But I tell you what, this is a good bracket. I think it's something that everyone should look at and know you are where you're at. all right? And it does not determine where you're going to be in the future. Again, when I was young, I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to buy a home. I'm never going to be able to afford that lifestyle. You just keep trying things, and maybe you fail, but you keep doing it. And I'll tell you what, if you can start your own business, that's the quickest way to get there. But otherwise, whatever it is you do, just be the best damn person you can be. And I tell you what, it will pay off. And you always work hard, and you always take care of other people. All right, that's off my soapbox there. Let's get into the rest. Let's finish this up. All right, we're going to end this week with VA rates. Last week we saw rates. You can see the little peak up there. That was last week. That was not a good week for rates. This week we came back down. We're regaining that momentum, that same momentum we had last year when interest rates were coming down. We went from 6.25 at the beginning of the week down to 6.08 toward at the end of the week. And as I look at the numbers across the market, we're really steady on a Friday. That PCE report, the personal consumption expenditure report, while it shows core inflation rising, it was exactly what we were expecting, so you're not seeing a lot of movement. Next week, though, is big, folks. Next week is big, and the expectations are that the jobs reports are going to show a slowing market, and we might see unemployment, the household unemployment survey, go from 4.2% up to 4.3%. Let me tell you, we were this close last month, maybe even 4.4%. So, could see rates come down to VA rates come down below 6% next month. We will see. I'm going to end it with that, folks. You have a great Labor Day weekend. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear what you're thinking. Bye.